has been a wide recognition among many researchers and scholars in different areas and different disciplines that the world is more interconnected than any time in the history. It's interconnected in a way that people interact with each other in different and very numerous occasions in the daily life conversations. So this, of course, has brought a number of challenges and a number of, I would say, questions to be asked and many ideas to the fore. And one of the questions is to reconsider and reshape the underpinnings of the communicative competence. It's the competence that the Morocco University is working with until so far. But the problem with the communicative competence is simply the fact that it focuses on the target culture as the basic thing, and the native speaker is the model for learners. So in order to be good speakers, especially for English students who belong to the English department, they need to be knowledgeable about the target culture. Target culture here I refer to English language. But the problem now, as the title of this study day suggests, cultural diversity, we don't speak or we don't talk only to English people, but we may encounter a number of people, especially in the age on the era of technology. So it's not just about having a competence that is linked to English, but having a competence that is universal. And here the focus and the shift from communicative competence to intercultural competence, because intercultural competence contains the relationship between one's own culture and others' cultures, and the key term here, and I would like to highlight it, is mediation. How to mediate between two cultures. This is actually the key term. I'm not going to delve into the details. This is simply my outline. First, it's very interesting to grasp the meaning of intercultural competence. What does this term mean? And the contribution of this concept in tracing some components and new dimensions that are needed in this century. And also its contribution to the development of intercultural citizenship and some, of course, implications. Because implications, I think, are the most important part. So the intercultural competence was a concept coined for the first time by Michael Barron and his colleagues are working actually in the British or in the European Council in a bid to find a clear way and a valid way to afford learners in the 21st century with skills of that afford them with skills of I would say communicating with others and so on. So the term intercultural competence may be defined as complex abilities. Why may be defined? Because it's hard to find a clear-cut definition of the term intercultural competence. Intercultural competence exists in economics, in politics, in social studies, and even in religion, as our colleague talked about. So each speaker and each researcher tries to define intercultural competence according to his or her own ambitions and, I would say, purposes. As complex abilities, why? Because, as I said, it's not just the matter of knowing some facts about the target culture, and here I refer mainly to socio-linguistic competence, strategy competence, discourse competence, and grammatic competence. But it's not, this is not enough in the era of technology and the demands of, as I said, the revolutionary shift in the world. It's interesting to have abilities to find the relationships between cultures. That's why it's complex abilities. And communicative competence actually is added as a sixth component. Are required to perform effectively and appropriately. Effectively here refers to reaching the level of mutual understanding between speakers and the reciprocity of the interests if they arrive or reach a purpose or needed outcome and the results of their interaction. And appropriately, and the appropriacy refers to the norms of the target culture. Of course, here I would like to refer to a very interesting point. I'm not saying that communicative competence should be rejected, but it should be reconsidered and reshaped. Intercultural competence comes to reconsider this in the sense that it adds some dimensions to communicative competence. Communicative competence, of course, still valid. So that's why appropriately the verb here is interesting, because it refers also to the knowledge about the target culture. When interacting, and here interacting as referred by Melton Bennett, one of the scholars in the field of intercultural competence, as the third space, interaction between speakers from different cultures, with others who are linguistically and culturally. Linguistically at the level of language, their phonology, morphology, syntax, and linguistic competence in general, and culturally. The difference, inherent difference makes the sense from oneself. I tried to pick up these definitions because they are somewhat comprehensive and general. Intercultural competence in second definition is generally viewed as a skill that enables someone to function effectively in cross-cultural setting. Having these definitions paves the ground to find more components. What are the new dimensions, the new components of this concept? There are, of course, a number of components, but I try to bring one that is most outstanding, and there is a consensus among researchers that microbiome is one of the most effective and the most efficient leaders in the field. And this is also considered by some researchers as a component of intercultural communicative competence. Here I would like to refer to the idea of intercultural competence and intercultural communicative competence. People sometimes may find it some kind of vagueness. Intercultural communicative competence contains the foreign language, as they mentioned. Intercultural competence focuses mainly on the culture, but not necessarily language. A sense of questioning one's own culture, because sometimes one's own culture is taken for granted, just without questioning critically some assumptions, some beliefs of one's own culture. The skills of discovery are key component, because it focuses on how the learner tries to, especially when we are ignorant about certain things in the target culture, and try to discover new facts and new knowledge. These skills are very interesting, especially cultural practices, procedural application of knowledge in real time. And the knowledge here referred by Graham as savoir, social groups in own culture, knowledge about basically about one's own culture and other cultures and the relationship between them. And critical cultural awareness, savoir s'engager, and this is referred to as political education. This is one of, according to many researchers in the field, one of the most important components and dimensions of intercultural competence, because it provides learners with a critical thinking skills that are needed in this century, because we are, as you know, we are living in the era of media, and the technology makes everything easy, so the critical in spirit, of course, is very, very interesting. But this critical, thinking should not be based just on random assumptions, but on explicit criteria. This is a very important idea. When you think that something is not good, or something is not, but something is good, this should be valued critically according to some criteria that should be made explicit. And attitudes, of course. Attitudes here refers mainly to the curiosity and openness towards other cultures. This is the starting point, because if we are not open to other cultures, there is no curiosity. I think there will be no chance to develop intercultural This, of course, as I said, contributes to the development of intercultural citizenship, because intercultural competence provides learners with skills that enable them to cross the national borders and try to find new ways to have new skills, to discover new cultures, new, I would say, new word, because culture is a word. Intercultural and global citizenship. Here, the national citizenship refers mainly to one's traditional way, to one's own duties and responsibilities towards one's own nation. The cultural, national citizenship. And here, the problem that was determined by many researchers is that this may develop certain kind of ethnocentric perspectives, xenophobia, or something like this. Because if we don't have any idea about other cultures, this may not help us to evaluate them and appreciate the cultural differences. This, of course, develops some rigid ideas and unwanted results. And of course, this develops the active citizenship. Active citizenship refers mainly to the idea of action, how to take action. We are an intercultural citizenship, having different cultural backgrounds, having good knowledge about how cultures, cross-cultural perspectives are used and so on. So this helps us to take action so as to tolerate the cultural diversity and so on and so forth. Okay? And implications, this is the most important part. Since ICT is a natural process, the role of education is absolutely crucial in promoting it. Because intercultural competency is hard to be something just natural and taking place in informal contexts. The informal context has a very crucial, I would say, status. How can someone be critical just in informal context without being handled by professors and teachers in the classroom? Foreign language learning provides a fertile ground to familiarize learners with new concepts, traditions, and practices of foreign cultures. If you try to find or to go further in the intercultural competence research, you find that foreign language is the main need, and it's the political means that is used by many researchers. And territorial socialization refers mainly to the role of university professors and teachers to provide learners with new concepts, new beliefs, and a new way of seeing life. And of course, active citizens, as we have seen. To wrap up, I think it's still the intercultural competence at its embryonic stage, but it is used now in some countries in Europe, and we cannot just follow slavishly and blindly what the communicative competence model provides us, but to think, because here the reconsideration